I've been discussing my experiences with ADHD and treatment with a friend of mine who suspects he may also have it. I told him about my first experience with medication, and he said the story made him more convinced that he may have it too than other things we've talked about. So I want to share the story of my first day on medication with you in case it could help you decide whether or not to look into an evaluation for yourself. And I'll be playing B-roll because my mom says it's awkward and boring to just watch me talk to the camera. Or talk to the microphone. I mean. Now, to be clear, this video is not intended as medical advice or a way to diagnose yourself. I'm not qualified to diagnose or advise anyone. I'm sharing my story, and I'm hoping it can help people decide whether or not to seek professional evaluation for ADHD. On my first day of taking medication, I took one 18 milligram Concerta tablet. Other than that, it was a normal morning. I got distracted when I went upstairs to brush my teeth, I didn't know where my shoes were, and I barely made it to the bus stop on time. Then I was sitting on the bus, looking out the window and having my usual bus ride thoughts. But this time I was also having thoughts about the pill I'd swallowed that morning. My mind was flooded with things like, what's this medication going to feel like? Am I going to feel like I'm on drugs? Am I going to feel lethargic or tired? Will I feel like I'm someone else or not myself or something? Is it going to totally change my personality? What are the other kids on the bus doing? Is anyone trying to get my attention right now and I'm not realizing it? What are we doing in classes today? Did I do all the homework I need to hand in today? What's lunch going to be today? How much homework am I going to get today? What are we doing in track practice today? Am I going to be exhausted or sore? What do I want to do when I finally get home? What are we going to eat for dinner tonight? Will I like it? Will I have enough time and energy to do something fun after school tonight? Am I seeing anything new out the window? Is there anything interesting I haven't noticed before? I don't know, but watching houses and trees go by is kind of relaxing. What are the other kids on the bus talking about? Do I want to join any of their conversations? My mind was buzzing with all kinds of random thoughts, curiosities, worries, and concerns. That was normal for me. I always had 5 to 20 things on my mind. It wasn't really like I could think about them all at the same time. It was like my mind stands in the center of a room surrounded by 20 chalkboards on a giant lazy Susan. My mind is on a stationary part in the center. It's one of those fancy tabletop lazy Susans, but big enough to take up an entire room. Every half second or so, I spin it to the next chalkboard and I have a moment to think about the thoughts on it. I refresh its existence in my head and maybe write down something new. But I have to move on to the next thought quickly or it will self-erase itself off the chalkboard. The thoughts on the spinning chalkboards are like RAM in a computer. Volatile memory. If I don't look over all 20 concerns I have for the day every 5 seconds, I might forget one. This was normal existence for me. I was riding the bus in my normal, buzzy, spinny state of mind. And then it was like the Concerta started working all of a sudden. It was like a switch flipped, and now I was just looking out the bus window. I was just taking the scenes in. The thoughts turned off. Where did they go? All I'm doing is looking out the window, and all I'm thinking about is what I'm seeing. I'm just noticing the appearance of houses. I'm just thinking about how much work some people do to keep their flower beds and bushes kept. So many people weed and mulch their flower beds. That's a lot of effort. Some of these houses look very expensive. For some of them, I wonder if the people who live there do the work themselves or hire companies to do it. I feel like it's so much more satisfying to do the work yourself. If you don't do it, it's almost like your home's appearance is just another form of materialism. It's not a project or something you can feel proud of. It's not evidence of your care, your skill, or your labor. It's just a status symbol you're wealthy enough to purchase. Then I started laughing. I suddenly realized that this was the experience of having my ADHD treated. My extra thoughts were turned off. I could think about what I was looking at. I could take it in. I could think so much more deeply about what was right in front of me because my thoughts about things that weren't present were turned off. I was experiencing living in the moment. I was experiencing actually being present. I wasn't thinking thoughts like, how will I feel happy today despite being forced to spend 8 hours of my day in school? I wasn't asking myself what I'll do when I get home to make myself feel okay about my feelings that school is a waste of my youth. I wasn't worried about how I'd cope with missing today's weather. All those thoughts were just gone. I don't remember the rest of that bus ride or much of what happened that day. But I remember that my experience in school changed for the better after starting medication. Well, that sums up my first experience with ADHD medication. I hope my explanation of how my thoughts worked before and after medication kicked in helps you understand the difference medication can make. But I think in words. I have a loud inner narrative with language as my thought format. Not everyone thinks the same way. Many people don't have a verbal inner narrative, and inner narrative style is not an indicator of ADHD or a lack thereof. So if you don't feel like you related to how my thoughts work, don't take that difference to mean you have no reason to look into ADHD for yourself. ADHD is more about executive function and dopamine regulation. In my case, an overactive verbal inner narrative was a symptom of poor executive function and dopamine reward deficiency. That narrative quieting down was a result of medication treating both of those. Like I said already, feeling like you don't relate to my experience does not rule out ADHD. And I'm not a medical professional, so please seek professional advice if you believe you may have ADHD, whether or not you related to my story. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I've been